Yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will explain for you an explanation about the phoneme. The phoneme is same but different. But before I say with you attention our groups and groups too. We will presentation about our group. The first is me, Irene, and then my partner.
My name is Helena, but you can call me Elin.
My name is Delina.
There's one more person. Our group is Adalia, but she cannot join us because she has another business in out of country. In out of city.
Okay. In the first slide, we will conduct by me. Please, to sit down. Okay. The first is explanation about the title is the phoneme. The phoneme sound with difference. In this slide, in this section, will be divided five parts. The first will be explain its variation and when to ignore it, and then some further example, and then the reality of the phoneme and the condition variation in written language, and the last is the phoneme. Okay, in this first slide will be explained about variation and when to ignore it. Okay, okay. In this slide, recognize that two objects or concepts are the same but different. How to present a major philosophical problem, the phrase itself seems self-contradictory. Jadi pada slide ini akan menjelaskan ya dua benda, sesuatu, dua barang ya, itu bisa dikatakan itu sama, tetapi kalau kita filosofikan, artikan secara sama, itu dua hal itu yang berbeda. Nah, for the example in this slide, we can recognize, categorize in this slide is everyday basic ya, atau kegiatan sehari-hari bisa dikatakan 2 years old, anak-anak usia 2 tahun itu dia belum bisa membedakan sepatu itu mana yang kanan dan kiri, tapi dia bisa mengatakan sepatu itu adalah sepasang sepatu. Nah, di sini bisa dikatakan variationnya itu adalah sepatu itu kanan dan kiri, tapi kalau kita bilang itu ada sepatu, sama sepatu. Dan untuk kanan dan kiri untuk anak usia 2 tahun itu belum bisa membedakan. Untuk next example is kita ada seorang dewasa yang recognize sebuah jeruk. Nah, jeruk itu kan dibagi beberapa jeruk ya, ada jeruk lemon, jeruk bali, terus jeruk untuk masak ya dan lain-lain. Kalau di sini kita recognize tentang dua jeruk almond, ya, jeruk lemons and lights. Jadi jeruk nipis sama jeruk lemon. Nah, kalau kita bilang jeruk tersebut itu kan adalah mempunyai manfaat dan kegunaan beda-beda ya. Tapi kalau kita dianalogikan itu keduanya adalah sama-sama jeruk. Right? Terus untuk next example is emotion. Nah, di sini dicontohkan adalah misery and happiness. Misery itu adalah kesedihan, sedangkan happiness itu kebahagiaan. Nah, kalau kita bilang untuk variationnya itu adalah keduanya ini sama-sama emotion atau perasaannya, emosi kita. Tapi secara when to ignore it, untuk membedakan kedua kata ini, untuk misery itu adalah sesuatu hal yang disappointed, jadi dia kecewa. Dan untuk yang happiness itu sesuatu yang membuat kita happy atau bahagia, happiness. Okay. Itu semua bisa dikatakan sebuah variasi sebuah kata dan bagaimana kita membedakan dari kata tersebut. Okay. Untuk next slide will be conduct our partner, and the slide please.
Yeah. For the next is condition variation in written language. Children may at first try to write all words with initial capitals until they are taught the accepted usage, which is for capitals appear on proper name and the first word in each sentence, and lowercase letters anywhere. Nah, jadi ini biasanya terjadi sama anak-anak dengan contoh penulisan dengan menggunakan huruf kapital. Contohnya kan kalau yang di slide kita itu ada anak A di depannya kecil, kemudian yang di belakang terbesar. Nah, ini kesalahan yang biasa ditemukan oleh anak-anak. Atau untuk contoh nama negara, Afrika. Ya, penulisan yang benar itu huruf kapital A di depan. Dan kesalahan yang terjadi sama anak-anak itu biasanya A di belakangnya yang besar. Ya, padahal ini salah. Okay, next. The next is definition about phoneme. The phoneme. Phoneme is the smallest unit of sound in the language that can distinguish one word from another. Jadi phoneme seperti yang kita ketahui itu merupakan unit kesatuan terkecil dalam bunyi yang dapat membedakan satu kata dengan kata yang lainnya. It is usually presented surrounded by slash in transcription. Kalau membedakan phoneme ini biasanya jelas penulisan ada slash. Contohnya ada big and big. So, p and b are two different phonemes because they can distinguish between the words big and big. Ya. Contohnya big and big. Nah, di sini ada yang membedakan itu p sama b. Kalau ada yang membedakan itu pasti akan menghasilkan makna yang berbeda juga. Atau contohnya itu ada call and call. Ke sama teh di sini yang membedakan itu phoneme. Ini bisa juga satu contoh dari minimal pairs that will be explained by our partner. Her name is Devina. But after this, it's still me. Okay, next slide. Next slide is allophone. Allophones are phonetic variations, different pronunciations of the same phoneme. Jadi allophone ini adalah variasi dari fonetik dengan pelafalan yang berbeda dari phoneme yang sama. Using a different allophone doesn't change meaning. Menggunakan perbedaan allophone tidak mengubah makna. Ya, seperti contoh yang minggu lalu pernah kita jelaskan. Contohnya itu perbedaan dialek atau logat. Contohnya kan kayak masjid, kemudian ada orang Medan yang bilang jadi masjid. Padahal maknanya sama-sama, bangunan itu masjid, walaupun cara pengucapannya berbeda. Kemudian contohnya itu ada p biasa sama ada p yang ada h-nya. Are allophone of the phoneme p. Kemudian t sama th biasa, contohnya seperti ini. Slash t. Jadi teh di sini terbagi menjadi dua, yang terbiasa sama yang ada h-nya. Biasanya kalau yang ada h-nya itu at the beginning of word, di awal kata. Contohnya misalnya top. Nah, dari sini sebagai teh. Atau kalau yang terbiasa stop. Cara pelafalannya pun berbeda. Misalnya ini the T is in the middle of word, di tengah-tengah kata. Contohnya kan stop, T-nya biasa. Kemudian ini T, karena T in the beginning of word, so you can say T, ada H-nya. Top, stop, and top. Yeah, like that. Next, for the next slides will be explained by our partner. Her name is Devina. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Elin. Next is minimal pairs. We have to know what's the meaning of minimal pairs. A minimal pairs is two words that mean different things and differ in only one sound. Jadi itu kalau minimal pairs itu dua kata yang artinya berbeda tapi dalam pengucapannya sama, bunyinya sama. Pairs of words differing in meaning, where the only difference in sounds is that one has one of the two phones at issue, where the other has the other. We have the example. The example is tall, and call. The difference here is that we can hear this same, but the meaning of this is same. Say tall, call. The first is of this is t and s. K. Yes, it's k. Call. And the next example, leaf and leaf. And then very and very. Next is about phonemes. Some further examples of phonemes. In the modern English, there are T and K. Example, tall and call. Tall, and call. In the phoneme, there is aspirated allophones and unaspirated allophones. The aspirated is the initial aspirated p, k, and t. Example, peel, kill, and till. And unaspirated allophones p, t, k. It's spill, steal, and the skill. Yeah, in the Scots Gaelic, where minimal pairs can be found for the clear and dark variants. For example, baile, a town, and bala, a wall. Thank you for attention. Thank you.
Yes, okay. And the last title is last slide, the reality of the phoneme. Jadi di sini kita akan menjelaskan, will explain about realita atau kenyataan dalam pengucapan fonem itu seperti apa sih asal usulnya, background of this title. In old English, jadi both of and for itu pengucapannya sama pada Inggris terdahulu. Tapi dengan adanya perubahan saat ini, pengucapan of dan for itu berbeda, different. Like spell of and for, very different. Like for example, like this, for before slide, we know about live and then live. Secara pengucapan tanpa melihat dari kata ini itu berbeda, nggak ada kesamaan ya. Verb di sini sama, of di sini sama verb sini. Nah, tapi kalau diartikan itu berbeda ya. Nah, tapi kita bisa mengucapkan dengan kata lain juga ya. Banyak contoh lainnya selain ini hanya kategorize yang bisa kalian ketahui aja. Of sama verb di sini bisa dikatakan katanya berbeda artinya, tapi dalam pengucapan itu hampir sama. And then for the next, kita membedakan antara beberapa fonem di sini seperti kata an, and Nah, di sini itu bisa dikatakan sebuah kata yang hampir sama diucapkan tapi memiliki arti yang berbeda. For the example is rain, and run. Ini untuk contoh di sini bisa digarisbawahi nya itu ini, en sama eng. Nah, di sini just simple. Kalian bisa membedakan ini saat kalian melihat sebuah katanya dalam realitanya, ya. Tapi dalam pengucapannya itu hampir sama, rem, ren, rem. Jadi kedua gigi ini itu menutup gitu pengucapannya seperti itu. Oke, that our slide, our group's presentation. Hopefully you all clear on my explanation, and thank you for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
In this screencast, we're going to talk about phonemes and allophones. Now, this discussion of phonemes and allophones is in the sub-area of linguistics called phonology. And phonology is all about contrasts and positional variation. Now, when sounds, when there's a difference in sound, like in cap and tap, notice how both of these words have three sounds, initial consonant, the same vowel, and the same final consonant. But there's a difference in that initial consonant, k for cap and t for tap, and that difference results in a different word, right? If we are saying cap or tap, it all depends on that initial sound, and that results in a different word. So when this happens, when there's a contrast, we see that these sounds represent different phonemes. Different sounds, different meanings, and we call these minimal pairs. Whenever we find a minimal pair, we know that we have found sounds that represent different phonemes. So in English, it's important to specify which language we're talking about, because this is not cross-linguistic. There'll be differences in different languages, but in English, k and t represent different phonemes. Now, k and ta are not just in those two words, right? They're in lots of words. And whenever we see or hear or say the k sound, we generally accept that as the same sound, right? In cap, cat, cup, tack, cool, tick, all of those, right? We generally see those, we hear those as the same sound. So we say that in English we have the phoneme k. And this is the notation for a phoneme. It's the slashes. We write it in slashes. So English has the phoneme k. But there are differences in pronunciation when we're actually speaking. But not every difference in pronunciation results in or leads to a difference in meaning, leads to different words. Now, let's focus on this word a little bit. I've picked this word because it only has two sounds, right? The initial consonant and the vowel, ku. Now, you really have to say it out loud and try to feel where your tongue hits the roof of your mouth. Ku, ku. Now, K is the voiceless. Your vocal folds are not vibrating, which you can feel if you touch your Adam's apple or the top of your head. And it's velar, meaning that the back of your tongue is touching that squishy part at the back of the roof of your mouth. It's where it gets soft, the soft palate it's sometimes called. And it's a stop, also called a plosive, because in order to make the k sound, you have to build up a little air pressure and then pop it, let it release. Ku. Do you feel that? Okay, now let's say this word. Now, native speakers would say that this has the same sound, right? Ku and ki. But you really have to say it to try to recognize the difference between phonemes and allophones. Now say ku, then ki. Ku, ku, ki. Ku, ki. Do you feel that your tongue moves forward a little bit? Ku, ki. So in the IPA, in the International Phonetic Alphabet, the sound we make when we're saying the word key is actually a different symbol. It's represented by a different symbol, what we actually pronounce. But any native English speaker would say that those two sounds are both the same. They're both the K, right? So that's what this means. We have native speakers understand this as the same sound, the same abstract idea of the same sound, but sometimes we pronounce it as K and sometimes as K. Ku, ki, ku, ki. There's also a different vowel, but that's important, right? When we produce it with a front vowel like E, the velar, instead of pronouncing it with the tongue at the very far back of the roof of your mouth, it moves a little forward because we're anticipating going forward for the front vowel. Ku, ku, ki. Do you feel your tongue moving forward? So that's what we mean by positional variation. The phoneme K in English sometimes shows up as this symbol, right? Almost like a K, but it's more K, K, instead of K, K. I know that's hard to hear. You're going to have to feel it. And that shows up before front vowels, where the K sound occurs everywhere else. Again, as native English speakers, we think it's the same sound. So that's why we consider it the same phoneme. But those two sounds are allophones of that single phoneme in English. So if you want to find out if something's an allophone or a phoneme, you think about if the sounds do not cause a difference in meaning, if the distribution is predictable and complementary, like we saw with phoneme K, we can predict where the other variant's going to be. And we also expect the sounds to be phonetically similar, right? Because we wouldn't want it to be completely different. We just had one little change. It just moved a little bit forward in the mouth, but the voicing and the manner stayed the same. So if you have all those things, those sounds are allophones of the same phoneme. In allophones, if it helps, you can just think of them as sounds, right? Those sounds, what's actually being produced, belong to the same phoneme. But if the difference in sound results in a difference in meaning, those sounds are allophones of different phonemes, right? So they're different. They're still sounds, but they represent different phonemes. Another way you might want to think about this is the fancy definition from Ziga, is that a phoneme is a label for a set of sounds that all count as basically the same sound, right? It's a family of sounds. They should have family resemblance, but you can, if you try real hard, you can see those differences, right? Okay, so the phoneme is the abstraction, the idea in our minds of what counts as the same sound, but the phonemes are the sounds that are actually produced when we speak.